The History of the Canaanites. The Canaanites were an ancient people who inhabited the land of Canaan, a region corresponding to modern-day Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, western Jordan, and parts of Syria. Their civilization was one of the earliest in the Near East, thriving for several millennia before fading into history. Known for their vibrant culture, complex religious practices, and strategic location along important trade routes, the Canaanites played a significant role in shaping the history of the ancient world. Origins and geography. The land of Canaan is first mentioned in the Bible as the inheritance of Canaan, the grandson of Noah through Ham. The Canaanites are described as descendants of Canaan, who settled in the region after the Great Flood. Archaeological evidence places the Canaanites in the area as early as the 3rd millennium BCE, where they established a network of city-states and developed a thriving civilization. The geography of Canaan was diverse, ranging from fertile plains to mountainous regions. This land, rich in natural resources, became a crossroads for various civilizations, including the Egyptians, Mesopotamians, and later the Israelites. Canaan's cities such as Jericho, Sidon, Tyre, and Hazor were well fortified and served as centers of commerce, culture, and religion. Religion and beliefs. Canaanite religion was polytheistic, revolving around a pantheon of gods and goddesses who governed different aspects of life. At the top of their pantheon was El, the chief god, often depicted as a fatherly figure and creator. His consort Asherah was the mother goddess, worshipped alongside El as the goddess of fertility and life. One of the most prominent and widely worshipped gods was Baal, the storm and fertility god, associated with rain and agriculture. Canaanite religious practices were diverse and included sacrifices, offerings, and rituals. Temples dedicated to Baal, Asherah, and other gods were common throughout the region. Worship often involved altars, stone pillars, and sacred groves. Religious festivals were tied to agricultural cycles, celebrating planting, harvest, and the changing seasons. One of the darker aspects of Canaanite religion was the practice of human sacrifice, particularly in times of crisis. The god Molech was associated with such practices, and biblical texts condemn the Israelites who adopted this Canaanite custom. This led to tensions and conflicts between the Canaanites and neighboring cultures, including the Israelites, who were commanded to avoid these rituals. Society and customs. Canaanite society was structured around city-states, each ruled by a king or local leader. These city-states were independent, though they often formed alliances or engaged in conflicts with one another. The Canaanites were skilled builders and engineers, constructing fortified cities with walls and towers that were considered highly advanced for their time. The Canaanites were also known for their artistry and craftsmanship. They produced intricate pottery, jewelry, and metalwork, and they were particularly famous for their production of purple dye, made from the murex shellfish. This dye was highly prized across the ancient world, symbolizing wealth and royalty. Family life in Canaanite culture was patriarchal, with the father as the head of the household. Inheritance and property passed through the male line, and polygamy was common among the elite. Women played important roles in religious life, particularly in the worship of fertility goddesses, but their status in society was generally subordinate to that of men. The Canaanites were also active traders, capitalizing on their strategic position along major trade routes. They traded goods such as olive oil, wine, timber, and luxury items like ivory and jewelry with neighboring regions. Their seafaring skills, especially among the Phoenicians, a Canaanite group, helped spread their influence across the Mediterranean, establishing trade networks that reached as far as Egypt, Cyprus, and Greece. The Canaanites in the Bible. The Canaanites are a significant presence in the biblical narrative, particularly in the context of the Israelite conquest of Canaan. The Bible describes Canaan as the land promised by God to Abraham and his descendants. When the Israelites, led by Joshua, entered the land after their exodus from Egypt, they encountered the Canaanite city-states, leading to numerous battles and conquests. The book of Joshua details the fall of Jericho, where the Israelites marched around the city walls for 7 days until they collapsed, allowing them to take the city. Other cities like Ai, Lachish, and Hazor were also defeated in the ensuing campaigns. Despite these victories, the Bible notes that not all Canaanites were driven out of the land. Many remained, leading to periods of coexistence, intermarriage, and cultural exchange, but also conflict. The Canaanites are portrayed in the Bible as both adversaries and a people whose religious practices were seen as corrupting influences on the Israelites. The book of Judges recounts how various Canaanite kings oppressed Israel during periods of disobedience, leading to a cycle of conquest, oppression, and deliverance. Deborah's victory over the Canaanite king Jabin and his general Sisera was one such moment of triumph for Israel. Decline and legacy. Over time, the Canaanites began to lose their distinct identity due to a combination of internal strife, external invasions, and cultural assimilation. The rise of the Israelites, along with other powers like the Philistines and Egyptians, gradually weakened the Canaanite city-states. The emergence of the Phoenicians, who were culturally and ethnically related to the Canaanites, continued many of their traditions, particularly in trade and religion. By the time of the Babylonian conquest in the 6th century BCE, the Canaanites had largely disappeared as a distinct people. Their cities had been absorbed into larger empires, and their culture blended with that of the Israelites, Phoenicians, and other emerging groups. However, their influence persisted through the centuries in various forms, particularly in the religious practices of neighboring peoples. The Canaanites left behind a legacy of innovation, artistry, and religious traditions that shaped the ancient Near East. Their story is intertwined with the foundational narratives of the Bible, and their culture had a lasting impact on the civilizations that followed.